What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another transfer target video for you guys. We are going to be looking at central midfielders today, whether it be an 8 or a 10. We've got a hybrid of a few of them here. It is very widely reported that Spurs have been linked with quite a few number 8s. With Lo Celso going, we could be looking at a number 10 as well to have competition for James Maddison going into next season. So, yeah, we're going to look at these 6 targets and see where we go. We're going to start off with the obvious pick, which has been non-stop rumours for, and that is Conor Gallagher, 24 years of age, €48 million market value from Chelsea. And you know what? Pochettino leaving could have been interesting developments in the Conor Gallagher saga.
I think so, because I think it's known that obviously Pochettino was a big fan of his. He was captain under him as well. Poch was very consistent in saying he wants Gallagher to stay, and I think he was asked in a press conference about Gallagher, and he said, look, you can see how much I play him and how much I pick him. So I think that tells you whether
captain as well.
You know, where that tells you, I think, whether you think I want him to stay or not. And maybe the fact that Chelsea hierarchy are so adamant to sell him could have been one of the reasons he left. So I do believe there is a chance he might be leaving in the summer. Obviously, whether he comes to Tottenham is another point. I do think he's had a stellar season, especially second half of the season. He's been really stepped up, Conor Gallagher. And I think what we're looking for in a centre-mid kind of box-to-box role, I think he could really fit it. If we look at his underlying metrics, this is like him as he profiles as like a box-to-box, pretty strong showing. Obviously, his shot creating actions, his attacking stats are really, really high. Defensively, pretty good for tackles, interceptions, tackles in the attacking third. You can see they're 91st percentile, so really great at pressing. We know that. Key passes really good. Progressive passes decent. The only thing he's fairly low at, potentially, passes in the final third, through balls, and progressive passes is not so high. So things he can definitely improve on from that position. But in terms of the overall package, performs really well. Yeah,
5 goals, 7 assists this season. He's been used, I mean, he's very versatile, isn't he? Can play as a 10, can play as an 8. And, you know, you look back at his days at Crystal Palace when he was on loan there. What a sensational season he had over there. And he was probably one of the most, up-and-coming English central midfielders at that time. He probably will be going to the Euros with Gareth Southgate this summer. So he'll be on show for everyone to see, which maybe he'll drum up a bit more interest for him. But, you know, he's been linked with the likes of Newcastle, Aston Villa, Tottenham. Obviously, it's been reported in the press that he does favour a move to Tottenham over those other 2 clubs, with staying in London, close to his family and everything like that. I'll be definitely up for this move. It does depend how much it costs, and it does depend on, you know, who else is attainable at the time. But I do feel like with the attributes that he does have, with his relentless pressing, with the quality that he has on the ball as well at times, I feel like he would fit in with this squad and fit in with the way Ange Postecoglou likes to play as well.
Definitely.
Next up, we're going to look at Morgan Gibbs-White, another player that Spurs have been heavily linked with over the past few months. 24 years of age, 40 million market value. Obviously, he is at Nottingham Forest, who are struggling with PSR. We know that they're going to need to sell before June the 30th because they could be facing another points deduction for next season. So what are we thinking about Gibbs-White?
Yeah, I like Gibbs-White. I think for Nottingham Forest, under Nuno, a consistent performer, always one of their biggest threats, always the one where if Forest have won, usually Gibbs-White has something to do with it. Quite obviously an attacking midfielder. He's not really one who I'm not saying doesn't like to get stuck in, but his defensive ability is not his forte. This is how he profiles as kind of like an attacking midfielder, pretty strong. What I like about this chart, as you can see, he's in the 38th percentile for touches in the final third, and he's in the 13th percentile for progressive passes received. So he's not seeing not that much of the ball, but he's in the 76th percentile for key passes and the 73rd for progressive passes. So what it tells me is he does a lot with a little, and that's a good thing. And what that tells me is if you get him more of the ball, he can create a lot more, and maybe he would be in the upper, even higher in some of the other statistics if he is receiving more of the ball. So I do like what I'm seeing here from Morgan Gibbs-White, and he is versatile, and I do think he ups the overall quality of the squad.
I agree with that, and with 10 assists and 5 goals this season in the Nottingham Forest team that nearly got relegated this season, that is impressive numbers. it depends what you want to go for when you're looking at, because I don't think we bring in a Conor Gallagher and a Gibbs-White. So do you go for a Gibbs-White, which is predominantly maybe a number 10 that can play out on the wing, or do you go for a Conor Gallagher that can play number 8 and number 10? I mean, which one would you probably prefer in terms of positional in the squad?
Probably...
Because if we're looking for a winger, I think we want a better winger than Gibbs-White. But in a number 10, I think he's a good option there.
Yeah, he's not a winger, in my opinion. I've seen him play on the wing a few times, haven't been that impressed. Especially in our system, I don't think he'd fit it. So I think I probably would say Connor, because I do think he's a better fit for the system. But in terms of Gibbs-White, he still improves the depth massively.
Yeah, and at 24 years of age, he still has scope to improve. I do feel like this season, however much I've been impressed with him in the games that he's played well in, I do feel like he can go missing in games, though. Where Conor Gallagher, I feel like he usually is always in the game.
But is that maybe because he plays for Forest?
Potentially. Let's move on to Joao Gomes of Wolves, 23 years of age, 28 million market value. He's a player that I've been really impressed with this season. Really impressed. Even when Wolves aren't playing well, he seems to, step up for the team and have a really good game. He's so tenacious in the middle of the park. Never stops running. Always gives 100%. And I like his quality on the ball as well. I think he's a top player, this guy, in the making.
Yeah, I like him as well. And I think he's had a really good season for Wolves. Really stepped up. In what was quite a difficult season for them, but Gary Neal has obviously done a fantastic job, and I think Joao Gomes taking over the mantle from the likes of Moutinho and Neves was always going to be a tough challenge, and I thought he's actually done a really good job. Looking at his metrics, this is how we profiles as kind of like a box-to-box player. The passing metrics in the blue are not the best, but what I do like is his pressing nature. So tackles in the attacking third, high. Tackles in the middle third, really high. Tackles and interceptions, really high. Shot creating actions from defensive action. So how many times has he turned a defensive action into a chance? One of the highest profiles for that as well. So I do think obviously his general passing probably needs a bit of work, but definitely his pressing is really, really strong. And I think at 20 years of age... 23 years of age, I think he's still got scope to refine that. And obviously, Wolves being a very transitional team who play on the counter, if he comes to a Tottenham who obviously play possession-based, maybe that can improve his passing. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. Like I said, I've been super impressed with him this season. And I think if he was to come to Spurs again, I think he's a player that Ange Postecoglou will love in terms of how his hard work rate, his pressing ability. And I do think that he is good on the ball, and he can massively improve that as well. So I love Joao Gomes. Next up, we're going to look at Jacob Ramsey, 22 years of age, 42 million market value. And it's interesting with Jacob Ramsey because it's been known that Aston Villa, again, another club that are struggling with PSR at the moment, and with them bringing in Ross Barkley this summer, maybe he can be the fall guy.
Yeah, potentially. There's been a few rumours about Jacob Ramsey leaving. Obviously, his season was ended early, cruelly through injury, but he's always been quite a consistent performer for Unai Emery and for Aston Villa over the past couple of years. And what I like about him is he's played on the wing, he's played in midfield as well, and he seems quite comfortable in a few different positions. And as well, off the ball, he's quite a hard worker. If how he profiles as a box-to-box midfielder, which I think is generally how we would use him, maybe a bit of jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. What is quite good is he gets in a lot of goal-scoring positions. His non-penalty XG and his expected assists is really high. His shot-creating actions from defensive action, so his pressing is decent from what we can see here. His passing is above average. Pass completion rate is decent. Passes into the final third is pretty good. Progressive carries, he's quite a good ball carrier as well. That's above average. Defensively, also gets stuck in, above average for tackles, interceptions. Tackles in the middle third above average, but nothing really outstanding in any of them is what I would say. Does struggle with key passes, which is a bit of a concern. You'd thought with the positions he takes up, maybe he'd be creating a few more chances. He doesn't really do that. Passes into the penalty area quite low as well. So I think he's a good option, good versatility. Obviously plays for quite a good Villa side, but I wouldn't say he's outstanding in many things.
Yeah, I mean, his season did end quite early. He's only played 16 games this season because of the injury that he did get. I feel like with Jacob Ramsey, last season he got 6 goals and 7 assists in the Aston Villa side, I think first year under Unai Emery. And I thought it was going to get better this season. Obviously it was halted by injury. I feel like with Jacob Ramsey, with the quality that he does have, he's a player that could potentially explode in the next few years. I believe in his qualities so much. I think he could be a really top player one day.
Yeah, hopefully he recovers from this injury.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to look at Eberechi Eze of Crystal Palace, 48 million euros, 25 years of age. This guy is the perfect player for us, in my opinion. When you're looking at the positions that he can take up on the pitch, left wing, centre mid in the number 10. I mean, if you could get him to compete with Maddison in the number 10, plus have him on the left wing, 2 positions that we really need going into next season, he will take our team on levels. His ball control is just unbelievable. His ability to get into goal-scoring positions is unbelievable. Ball carrying, unbelievable. I mean, this guy is such a top player. He just changes the whole kind of reflection of the Crystal Palace team every single time he plays. He'll cost a fair penny, but he'll be worth every bit of it.
Yeah, he's a game changer. He's a player who, in my opinion, has potential world-class ability. And I think he's been, especially since Zaha left, he's been carrying Palace a lot. Even in Zaha's last few seasons, Eze was the one who was really probably the better of the two. And I think he's an astonishing player who has star quality, in my opinion. His metrics, this is how he profiles as kind of like an attacking midfielder. Very strong. I mean, no surprise really in the upper echelons for all the top attacking statistics. As you can see, goals, shot creating actions, chances created, XG as well, key passes. I mean, he's near the top for all of them very, very consistently. And all you have to do is watch him play to know how good he is. He's such an exciting player. He's unbelievable when the ball at his feet. He can shoot from range. He can dribble. He can cross. He can do anything you ask him to.
Free kicks.
He can take free kicks. He's a phenomenal player. Absolutely phenomenal. Just a question mark is, are Tottenham prepared to pay the money that would take to get him out of Crystal Palace?
Yeah, there is. He does have a tendency to pick up these little niggling injuries and miss like 2, 3, 4 games at a time. But I don't think that should sway us away from looking at him. I think his talents are they're just something special. He's a special player. And at 25 years of age, he should be ready to make the next step in his career. Yeah, Crystal Palace were going really well under Oliver Glasner, but he could be at any of the top teams in this league. I really believe that. So Eberechi Eze has got to be a player that we should be targeting this summer. And by the way, if Gareth Southgate doesn't take him to the Euros, it'll be a disgrace, to be honest. Because, yeah, I know he's not going to start with the likes of Cole Palmer and Phil Foden in the squad, but what an option off the bench to have at Eberechi Eze.
One of them picks up an injury, he's right there.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
ready to come in.
And last but not least, we are looking at Rayan Cherki of Lyon, 20 years of age, 25 million market value, a player with immense ability, can use both feet. He's like a magician with the ball at his feet, but there are question marks about potential attitude problems there.
Yeah, he's a box of tricks, Rayan Cherki, and he's one of these players who, whenever he gets the ball, you feel like he's going to do something and create something, and he's a magic man. That's what he tries to do. He comes up with different skills. He's very, very creative. But he hasn't had the best season. After he broke into the team last season or a couple of years ago, everyone thought he was going to be the next best thing, but hasn't really happened for him this season too much. Obviously, Lyon in general haven't had the best season, but Cherki hasn't maybe progressed this season as people liked. His underlying stats are very, very strong, though, as an attacking midfielder. As you can see, he performs extremely well in all the relevant metrics for attacking midfielders. So definitely one, for the underlying stats so strong, you get the feeling you put him in a more functioning team, he could fly. But it's whether he's worth the risk with his attitude problems, and as well, does he do the defensive work? Would he get stuck in if need to? I think there's a question marks about him there as well. But if he's one of those players who potentially, if you allow him a bit of freedom, it could be worth it.
He is only 20, though. That's got to be taken into account. I think he's the youngest player that we've spoken about on this list. So at 20 years of age, to show these metrics on a consistent basis, I mean, if you can get past those attitude problems, and if those attitude problems aren't actually an issue right now, because I know they were an issue like a year ago, I don't know if they're still an issue. he could be one of the most valuable players on this list.
It's not. It's less about attitude problems for me. It's more about can he do the defensive work, and that's what Ange needs.
Yeah. Last but not least, Quinten Timber, 22 years of age, 22 million market value at Feyenoord. Brother to Julian Timber at Arsenal. That'll be quite something with two brothers playing, one at Tottenham, one at Arsenal. But he's a player as well that's really come on leaps and bounds this season.
Yeah, and I think more of like maybe one of the more defensive players on this list, but I think has real quality, real technical ability. If you watch Julian Timber play, he's a very technical fullback. And it's no surprise that Quinten Timber is a very technical midfielder as well. And he does get in on the act when it comes to his attacking metrics, but as well is very strong when it comes to defensive, getting stuck in as well. If you look at his box to box profile, pretty strong, very high when it comes to his dribbling. Really good ball carrier. Passes as well, passes into the penalty area, really good. Progressive passes, progressive parries, carries, really strong. But he's also a really good presser. You can see tackles in the attacking third. He's in the 99th percentile. And he does also get in the act when it comes to shots on goal and key pass, chances created, key passes. All very, very strong metrics. And obviously playing for a very good Feyenoord side who dominated the league last season under Arne Slot. There's been a lot of talk about Timber. Even Arsenal apparently linked with him, potentially joining up with his brother. I, for one, think he'd be a really great addition to us.
7 goals and 9 assists this season in this Feyenoord team. And yes, I know they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Eredivisie. That is impressive numbers for the kind of player he actually is. And whenever I watch Feyenoord play, he always seems to be one of those midfielders that's getting in good positions, taking shots from range, getting in good positions in the box as well. So when you're looking at this list that we have, I probably actually would be comfortable and happy with any of these additions coming in. If you're asking me who my favourite player is on this, it's Eberechi Eze by a country mile. I think he would take us on to the next level. And that's the kind of money that we need to be spending realistically. And you're looking at CDM, we need to be spending big on that. This position, we probably, with the players there, you need to be spending big on that. And then we haven't even spoken about the front line and forward line yet, which, you have to have heavy investment there. So I do think it's kind of unrealistic to spend big in all these positions.
Yeah, I think this position here, in terms of an extra midfielder who's not a number 6, is probably the least of our priorities right now. So I expect it to be a maybe opportunistic signing, which is why maybe Gallagher is the one being mentioned, because we know Chelsea want to sell, and it's just an opportunity more than trying to buy from a club who don't want to sell. So obviously Eze would solve a couple of problems, obviously on the wing and up front and in midfield. So he would be my number 1. Probably the other 2 would be Gallagher, just because of the opportunity, and I think quality-wise he's been brilliant and would really fit in. And then the other one would be Timber. I think it would be my other option if we managed to get him in. But whether they'll demand too much, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, the thing is with Eze, you could start him on the wing, couldn't you? And then with Maddison, he's good for an injury every year, and we really struggled when he got injured this year. And then you just move him into the number 10 when Maddison gets injured. So I think Eze, however much it is, 60, 70 million, it's a no-brainer signing for me, no matter how much it is. All right, so that's it. Let us know who your favourite is in the comments section below. What central midfielder would you like to see in? If he's not on the list, let us know as well. But that it is your central midfield targets for today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.